Hi everyone, I hope you had a beautiful winter solstice, Yule celebrations and Christmas, or simply lovely holidays if you're not celebrating. If you're new here, I'm Jessica and I live in my campervan Bilbo full-time with my partner Risi and our puppy Heidi. A year ago we bought a second-hand van, converted it with reclaimed and sustainable materials and left our old lives behind. Since then, we've been travelling around Europe in the slow lane to reconnect with nature and grow roots in the wild. This week's story begins at winter solstice, the shortest day and the longest night of the year. We've been spending a few days in this woodland, whose name translates to shadow forest. And it looks just like Lothlorien from Lord of the Rings, with golden light filtering through ancient trees and mossy trunks that seemed almost alive. We did some little rituals to celebrate this time of the year and just took some time to ground ourselves in the stillness and magic of the forest. Today we're having a little feast under the trees with some locally grown produce and plant-based ham and mozzarella we found in a local shop. Every year on winter solstice, an ancient battle takes place between the Oak King and the Holly King, two brothers who are locked in an eternal dance of rivalry and renewal. The Holly King, crowned with spiked leaves and crimson-red berries, reigns over the darker half of the year. From midsummer to midwinter, the Holly King's power grows as the days shrink, the air cools, and the earth rests. He's the king of long shadows and frosty mornings, a symbol of the retreating sun and the promise of stillness. But his reign is not forever. The Oak King is the bringer of light and life, crowned with fresh leaves and acorns, who represents the long days and abundant life of the lighter half of the year. And on the winter solstice, the two kings meet in battle. The Oak King, with the promise of longer days and warm sunlight, defeats the Holly King, ushering in a slow but steady return of the light, until their next battle in midsummer, when the Holly King will reclaim his throne and the cycle repeats over and over until the end of time. The story of the two kings isn't just about seasons, it's about resilience and a reminder that even in the deepest darkness, the light will always return. With both of us being from the northern half of Europe, spending winter solstice in a sunny woodland with 16 degrees outside and eating fresh tomato soup felt admittedly a little bit strange, but I would be lying if I said we didn't thoroughly enjoy the warm sun on our faces in the middle of December. On one of our walks, we had spotted some glistening snow higher up in the mountains, so we decided to drive up there in the hope that we might have a white Christmas, which seemed a bit unlikely being in southern Italy, but we had been in this magical spot for a few days, so it felt like the right time to move on. On Christmas Day, we woke up surrounded by snow, which transformed the entire woodland into a fairy tale scene. The branches carried a thin blanket of snow with no wind to shake it loose, and the forest shimmered in many shades of white, brown, and green. Our heating isn't working at the moment, so it truly feels like we're camping out in the wild. And we're keeping ourselves warm with lots of steaming hot drinks and lots of layers, just marveling at the frosty landscape outside a cottage on wheels. Our puppy Heidi had never experienced proper thick snow like this before, and her joy was absolutely contagious. She was just frolicking through the snow, leaping through the area, and trying to catch snowballs mid-air. We spent the morning laughing and playing and just being silly and joyful in this quiet winter wonderland. So you may be wondering why we're in the middle of a forest alone for Christmas. And I guess the simple answer is that we don't really celebrate Christmas, do we?
No, not really. Like, I did when I was a kid, and that was quite nice. But I guess as I've gotten older, less so. Still like the family element, but
Yeah.
family is many thousands of kilometers away.
Yeah. Only like 3,000.
Only 3,000.
But yeah.
It's not a short drive.
Yeah. We don't really like being in the UK in the winter, and we do see the family in the spring and summer. So for us, that's kind of enough. We don't like how busy it is during this time of the year, and also don't really like the consumerist aspect of it. So hiding away in a forest with good books, good films, and cooking some good food sounds like an excellent plan to us.
Yeah, definitely.
Wait it out and emerge from the woods again when it's all over.
Once everything's quietened down.
Yeah. So that's our plans. We have a little tradition of going on a walk every Christmas Day, so we want to explore some of the nearby trails. This dense and ancient forest is naturally managed, so in many parts it's still a very wild and untamed place. We heard stories that it's said to be inhabited by spirits and fairies who guard the land and punish those who harm it. Those creatures will help guide lost travelers out of the forest, as long as they show respect for the local nature. Are you having fun? It is fascinating how many of the old stories trace back to values of taking care of nature and living in harmony with wildlife. It's one of the many reasons I think folklore is so important, because it carries timeless lessons which can help us live in a way that is lighter on the earth and our fellow beings. We stayed out for quite a while and even had a little snowball fight until it started snowing quite heavily, and we decided that it was time to head back to the van. We're parked near a small lake, which we had visited just the other day before the snow arrived. And at the time, we didn't think it was particularly special, but with a blanket of snow covering the ground and the lake being frozen around the edges, it suddenly was a really magical place. In many cultures, snow is a symbol of new beginnings, a natural cleansing of the earth that wipes away the traces of the past year. In Norse mythology, snowstorms were thought to be battles between the Jotnar, ancient frost giants who embodied the untamed forces of nature. Watching the snow swirl around us, it wasn't hard to imagine those mighty beings preparing for combat, and we didn't want to get caught in the crossfire, so we retreated back to the van and let the giants carry on with their timeless quarrels. You're very cute, Heidi. Are you sleepy? Are we a bit sleepy? What are we cooking today, babe?
We are cooking creamy pasta with fennel.
My favourite. And yours.
Which I famously dislike. Turns out just about everything is nice when it's smothered in cheese.
You always like my fennel recipes.
I do like your fennel, for the most part.
For the most part? You never mentioned that before.
And we're going to have it with some vegan, not mozzarella, what is it? Parmesan.
Parmesan, yeah, which we picked up in the supermarket. Hello, Heidi. Yeah, we found vegan cheese in the supermarket here, and vegan bacon as well, which is a treat. We've been keeping this for Christmas. We don't usually eat a lot of vegan replacement products, but it's nice to try the local ones whenever we're in a new country.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, isn't it? It's mushrooms.
Yes, looking forward to it. So Risi has popped up for the next half hour or so to walk Heidi, and there's one last thing that I really wanted to do this Christmas, which I do every Christmas, and that is make mulled wine. So I've got a few spices, I've got Italian oranges and lovely Italian wine, so I'm going to boil this with the wine for 5 to 10 minutes and then strain it and enjoy it outside because it's 3 in the afternoon, which means it's going to be dark in the next hour, so I just want to make the most of the daylight with a hot drink. We don't actually drink very often, we drink alcohol like once a month or so, so it's a special occasion. We've been eating a lot of chilies and soups and stews to keep warm, so this is another part of our strategy to make do until we can fix our heating next week. Did you have a nice walk? Did you have nice walkies? Help!
This is how we stay warm.
Lots of blankets.
Many, many blankets.
So we've got our wool duvet, which is already pretty warm. In the summer it's almost a little bit too warm, for Risi at least. And then we've got this blanket, which my mum passed on to us, which is also really warm.
Yeah.
It's filled with something fleecy, I believe.
Yeah, for how light it is, I'm actually really surprised at how warm it is.
Yeah, it's quite warm. It's really good. So that really saved us when we were traveling to the Alps. We still had our heating back then, but it was still nice to have the extra blanket. And then we've got 2 throws. And then, do you want to show us the thrifted blanket? So we thrifted this, it's like a patchwork, huge blanket that we got in a second-hand shop locally. It's a really nice pattern actually, and I think it's 2 blankets kind of sewn together, so it's really, really huge.
I'm definitely glad we got it. Jess wanted a different one. It's one of the few aesthetic decisions I got to make.
I think it's still really nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice pattern. Hey Heidi! So this is one of our most essential items in the van. It's called a window vac, and we use it to prevent damp and mold in the van. So we use it on our windows once a day or even several times a day when our heating is acting up like it is now. And yeah, it's just so important for us to have one, especially when we're in cold countries. When we were in Spain last winter, we didn't really need it, but now that we're in snowy areas, it's definitely a must-have. So we've had a lovely Christmas in the snow, but I think it's time for us to drive down the mountain again where it's a little bit warmer.
Yeah, it's my first white Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
Your first ever?
My first ever.
Wow, that's very special. It's my first white Christmas in like 15 years. Oh yeah, it's getting a bit difficult because it's quite wet because some of the snow is melting. And
it just gets inside the van as well. We
yeah.
have no heating, so once it's wet inside the van, it doesn't dry off because it's too cold to dry. So.
Yeah, we kind of hang up our socks to dry, but they're not drying. So I think it's time to go back to the woods where it's a bit sunnier with no snow, and we're gonna stay there for another day or so and then slowly make our way back to the coast where it's a little bit warmer.
And a lot drier.
And a lot drier.
It's a very different climate.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The climate varies a lot across the national park here because the elevation is also very varied. So yeah, it's a really cool place. But yeah, I'm ready for some coastal warmth.
Nice sunshine.
Nice sunshine. Yeah, maybe a dip in the sea. As the Holly King stepped down from his throne, so too did we bid farewell to the beautiful winter scenery to move towards sunnier and warmer realms. As we returned to our previous park up, it felt as if no time had passed whatsoever, with the lower forest flooded with golden sunlight, welcoming us back with open arms. If you enjoyed this video, do subscribe for more van life adventures, how we live more sustainably on the road, and the folklore we encounter on our travels. Until then, have a lovely week ahead, and we'll see you next time. Take care, bye.